your favorite convention-related podcast, Con Job. This week, I'm going to be doing a little bit different things, like we mentioned in the last show. We're changing it up slightly. We're doing a vendor spotlight. So we had a longtime guest on, Mr. Dylan West from Pixel Empire. We just kind of talk about his business, how he got into it, what got him started, how he does things, how many shows he does in a year, how he tackles them, and a few other little important tidbits from there. So enjoy. Hello again, everyone. And we did say in the last pod that we are going to be switching it up a little bit and doing some different things. So we decided, or I guess I decided, to do I can't even say it was because I was working with Dylan on this one for a little bit, and he's the champion of this one. So he gets to go first. We're going to be doing a vendor spotlight. So for those of you who don't, I'm not going to introduce him. You've heard him on the show. And if you're at a show and you hear that, oh my God, that god awful annoying jingle from Call of Duty Zombies of the mystery box, that's Dylan. So Mr. Dylan West, welcome back.
Hey, glad to be here. Glad that mystery box jingle reputation precedes me.
I texted, what show was it? It was Raleigh. I was like, is there any way we can
turn that GD speaker down? And I say,
and I went, and what's the guy's name that runs it?
I forget at this point which show that was already.
You have 50 people. But I went over to him and I was like, yeah, does anyone ever complain? He goes, no, Dylan's actually asked me if I could make it louder. So no, it's not that annoying. I guess it's a sound of money. So I guess for you, it's a good sound. So while we're getting going here, so it is a vendor spotlight. Let's start with how we met first.
Well, I mean, I heard you from the pod for months as I was getting into the convention business, and you never plug what your booth is. So I had no idea who you were, but I've asked, I want to say it was Brittany. I think I was talking to Brittany, and she goes, "Oh yeah, he's you want me to take him to the booth?" And so we were at New York Comic-Con, and I don't do this that often, but I was actually in cosplay as that Superman back there, and I walk up and I introduce myself, and so yeah, that's how we met. New York Comic-Con 22, and I'm dressed up with a cape, and I'm never doing that again at such a big show. That cape knocks over my frames, inventory, and I swear does not bring any extra customers in. So.
And for the next probably year, you were Dylan West. I talked to Meg. Dylan, yeah, Superman. So that's how we knew you. So,
and then we had dinner at AwesomeCon in 22.
AwesomeCon with Reese, yeah.
Yeah. So my wife and I took you. That's right. And we had dinner at some hotel, and then I feel like we were on a text chain like every day for a year since then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, have you done this show? Like, oh no, stay away from that show. Like, you got to do this show this weekend.
Yeah. So, all right. So I know, obviously, and a few do, but like, tell everybody, about the business. It's Pixel Empire. Obviously, people might not know what that is. People might think, oh, Pixels. He does, some kind of gaming art. Or maybe not even art, doing gaming. So go ahead, explain away.
So yeah, I started back in 2012. My little startup story is I had an Etsy store back then. I was happy to get maybe 10 sales a month, and I was just living the high life. And then I made a poster. I remember spent all night making it, put it up on Etsy, went to sleep, and by lunchtime, I look at my Etsy store, and there was over 1,000 orders, and this just didn't make sense. So I had to look it up, and the YouTuber Vsauce had featured my art for like 5 seconds, linked to my Etsy store, and thousands of orders came in. And that week I was serving tables, and I quit my job, and I've been being an artist full time ever since. So yeah, fast forward 10 years, I think around 2019, I'm living in Vegas, and there's a show called Level Up. I thought, I'll try this show and bring up some of my artwork. I'm like, wow, like all of my customers are pooled into one little convention. I was like, I got to start doing this more. And then 2020 hits. And so, I think I had like 2 shows under my belt before COVID. But then, a year later, they start picking up. And so I went from doing 2 shows, and then I did like 22 shows in 2022. yeah, and I got the bug, and then I expanded with a couple of teammates, and yeah, now you see us at a lot of shows, and it basically consists of my art, a partner of mine's art, and now we're getting a lot more into the prop making video game sort of elements, which you can kind of see in the background here.
So the big question, I think, first big question is going to be, is Vsauce still around?
So technically, it was Vsauce 3 that featured me,
Ah, I
but
apologize. I didn't want to
and
offend.
which maybe some might know the
To two
difference,
and
but
one. I don't want to upset 2 and 1 or 4 and 5. I don't know.
I did reach out to him like 8 years later, and I was like, hey, just so you know, that throwaway little, like, you have no idea this, but you kind of like started my career. And so like met up with him, and he was just like dumbfounded by the whole like story of just, sharing something for 5 seconds, like started my career. And so I don't know if you can see in the video, but ended up producing a vinyl record for like all of his original music from the channel. We put that on. So that was a nice little full circle with how we started with him, and then we got to like produce an album for him.
Oh, that's pretty cool. When you said you, I thought he was like a YouTuber,
Yeah,
like a
he was a
Mr.
YouTuber.
Beast. I
Yeah,
didn't know he's a rapper, or is it, what kind of music is it?
it's just literally just like kind of synthwave music, and that's just what he plays in the back of his videos.
Ah,
Like,
gotcha, gotcha. Okay.
and it was for charity, so I think that maybe that's why people bought so much of it. But we did the artwork and actually produced the.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. And then, so obviously you do this full time now, right? I mean, you said you did 22 shows. What was it? What year was that? And then now you're at roughly 150.
Yeah, and that's so the conventions really have taken the biggest chunk of it, because I've been doing this online for so long that that's already kind of automated, and we partner with a lot of artists online. But for conventions, it's mostly my art and then one other partner, and then we'll have one-off little like collabs with art projects and stuff here and there. Oh yeah, this is Pixel Empire has been full time since I lived in my dorm room in 2013.
How many cons would you say you, I guess a two-part question. How many would you say you have personally worked? And then I guess, let's just say in a year, in a normal year, how many would you personally be at? And then how many would you be doing as Pixel Empire?
So in 22, I was traveling every week, and I think I ended up doing like 15 of the 25. And it was only towards the later half of the year that I got somebody to join, and we started doing that. And then 2023, maybe about 15. There's enough Texas shows. I live in north of Dallas. That can keep me busy if I want. And then I'll do some of the big shows. Now I'm averaging about maybe 10 shows a year personally that I'm working in, and I really do like working the shows. But yeah, I think we're gonna end up the year doing about 145 shows as a company for 2024.
Oh, that is, and so let's get into, I guess, a little off topic. This is not really vendor related, but because we just talked about it, how do you secure additional people? Like,
Slowly,
how
and
do you, yeah, because I mean, we've done it, and I'm sure our process is a little bit different than yours, and we don't have as many as you, but it's pretty painstaking because, let's be honest, we deal with cash, so it's like there's a big trustworthy thing. You got to, it's not just, hey, let me just do it. It's not for everybody. It's
mhm.
work. You got to learn how to sell and things like that. So what's, if you don't mind me asking, you can
Oh
leave
yeah.
obviously out some specifics, but like process stuff.
So I would say best thing to do is do it slowly. Especially, I was kind of lucky in that I used to live in Vegas for a few years, and I was part of this charity where we dress up as superheroes and we do hospital visits and stuff. And so I already knew just 50 plus cosplayers, and cosplayers like going to conventions. And so slowly I
Right.
was like, hey, do you want to help me out with this show? Hey, you did an awesome job. Would you be fine doing this next show by yourself? Oh, okay. And like, you have a
So
friend, and
these are not necessarily people you knew beforehand. Not always.
at first it was, and then once they really kind of got into the team, if they had a recommendation, or they're like, hey, my boyfriend really liked to be a part of this, it'll be a lot easier if two of us are doing shows together. And yeah,
Right.
so slowly through word of mouth, but also like the people I know. I also have a lot of friends, especially over here, like in Dallas, because most of our team, 80% of our team is in Vegas, and that's where our warehouse is, and that's where it kind of started. I run the company in Dallas, and then we also have a little satellite team in Florida, and that's kind of how we can canvas the whole country, especially like weekends like this, but there's like 5 or 6 shows in one weekend without just burning through travel expenses.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would
Okay.
say do it slowly and do it with, actually them shadow you a couple shows and different types of shows, like, having them do a show that's local versus one, hey, you're flying across the country.
All right.
Things are a little bit different. And I'd say the number one part of this job is problem solving. And if they're a good problem solver and, travel throws a curveball at them, you can feel good about it.
I tell all of our girls when we first start, it's honestly, this job is 80% problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel that way. I mean, I had like Reese had a show once in Alabama, Huntsville actually, and she showed up and none of her bags showed up.
Mm-hmm. That
She
happened to
had
us
no backdrop.
this
She had
literally happened to us
no,
this morning.
yeah, she had nothing there. And it was, I was like, obviously she calls me and it's like, what can I do? I mean, I'll be happy to help, but there's nothing I can do. And so she worked it out. She, talked to the airline. Turns out her bags didn't show up the entire show and she just took orders and did amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I was just dumbfounded by how well she did. But yeah, it's all, again, my bags didn't show. What am I supposed to do? There's nothing I can do to help. Hey, I missed my connection. What can I do? Nothing I can do to help. You got to talk to you know what I mean? It's like, it's
Mm-hmm.
problem solving or, hey, everything showed up damaged. Well, we got to figure it out. Like there's not
Mm-hmm.
too much I can do. So yeah, I always say it's 80% problem solving. The rest is, that other 20% is the sales. I mean, it's a big part obviously, but
I went to school to be a graphic designer, so that's I'm an artist, and that's my favorite part of the job. But I'm learning the majority of my job is working with people and saying like itineraries and things like that, and so that's where like the majority of my time is. And then if I can carve out time, I can make a new poster or work on a new product.
which I know you said, what was it, all of August and September, or was it all of July and August? You were taking off to do new work, right?
Yeah, so my wife and I did 5 shows back to back to back, and part of that included one of the weekends
What?
was her birthday, and now
Thank you, Valerie, for that one.
but now taking off until New York, and I'm getting so much admin and computer and designing and stuff, and I'm just really grateful to have such a great team to do everything else where I can just meet up with them digitally once a week and know things are going to get handled.
So that was going to be another question. So that's one thing we have not incorporated as much as I think we need to. So you do weekly meetings as a team, not just individually, right? You do a whole team.
I should start doing individual more, but well, for one, we kind of have
You
I have
also have a very big team. You have how many people roughly?
well,
You
multiple
might
booths. We
pick
kind of
someone
have to
up for
pull
a
friends
weekend.
and stuff, but
Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because that's one thing we haven't done much is we've done the team meetings, and I mean we only have 5, so I need to start incorporating that more. I think it's definitely healthy. So I guess I mean for you it's different. Do you think it's better for your helpers to be solo or have an actual helper with them?
Well, okay, so I don't know if you've seen my booths from a couple years ago versus now, but I've added so much extra stuff that we bring. What
You
used to
always
just
have
be,
doubles. Yeah.
but we do a lot of solo shows, but I'm finding,
I mean double, you have double boosts. I'm saying like end caps.
yes, so
Yeah. By
that's almost
20s at
always
least.
a 20 by 10 is usually minimum what we do. And then sometimes we'll do bigger, but I mean, you talked about the Call of Duty mystery box. We're bringing props now, so it's a little harder for a solo person to just bring 4 pieces of luggage that are packed 99.9 pounds Southwest by themselves. And then I'm like, hey, now we're introducing this product and this stuff, so we're kind of
Remember
forcing our hand to
carry
have
on.
multiple. Yeah.
The carry-on can be 99.92. They don't weigh
Eh,
that.
It is, but depends on who your workers are. Do you want somebody that can
True.
lift
Yeah,
100
yeah.
pounds and put them up?
Right. But remember, which is what I tell our girls, because not all of them can lift 100 pounds. I tell them if you're trying to lift it up, inevitably we like to think there'll be some gentleman who'll be like, "Excuse me, do you need help with that?" And if not, the stewardess will help. I still am baffled that so many men refuse to like see like a little girl struggling with their bag and just not go, "Oh, do you need help?" Like, how hard is it? That's a story for another time. So just let that be a lesson to all you guys out there. If you see somebody, just ask. Even if they
Mhm.
got it, just ask, hey, you need help with that? Just to be nice. I don't know.
I don't know how many people see me with carry-ons, and I'm like lugging them, and
Yeah.
they're like, "What?" They go, "Are you a lawyer?" And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Oh, is that a
Yeah.
briefcase?" I'm like, "It's
It's all my paperwork.
it's not 50 pounds of court documents. It's they're
Yeah.
posters."
Um, so tell me, I guess now that we've been doing it for so long, do you have a favorite convention? Actually, two parts, a favorite and a least favorite.
Favorite
And I don't
is
mean just load in for a Comic Palooza either.
the gaming shows, and
Which one, favorite or least?
favorite by
Yep.
far. And I'm gonna pair them DreamHack slash Evo, and I'll throw in Level Up. I guess I got to give you one answer.
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm
say
gonna,
that's more than one.
but they're all very similar. They're like esport tournament type things, and it's very different from the kind of shows we normally talk about. But I would say Level Up, and it's because it was my first show, and every year it's kind of like a really big benchmark of like, oh, look how our booth looked last year, and now we have this, and now we have this, and because it's in Vegas and it's 10 minutes from our warehouse, we can also bring more stuff without it being a big pain. So I always fly to Vegas, even though I haven't been in Vegas for 3 years. I'll still like fly back there to do it, even though I have teammates that can do it just because I like that show so much.
And then least?
East, okay, well they're not around anymore, so now I don't mind shit talking them. But Unicon, and that's in Vegas too, and so that was also one of my first shows, and it did okay. And then everything about the business got a little better art, all this stuff, and we come back the next year, and it was the first show we just lost money on, and there was no travel expenses, there was no any expense, and we just lost. It was like the show promoters just did not do their job based off of what they did last year, and we said we'd never be back, and then they fizzled out.
Folded. Yeah. Well, that's usually the case then. Is there something, I mean, because we all learn as we go, right? There's so many things that you're like, crap, this really helped, that really helped, or you see somebody else, somebody gives you back. Is there something you wish you knew when you first, like, there's one thing, I wish I knew this on day one.
Day one, I would say focus on presentation and be
Good
different.
answer.
I would say be different because I mean I'm an artist. There's a million art vendors and artist alley that sell very similar stuff. So why is a vendor going to stop, or why is a customer going to stop and look at your booth and think about that? What's going to make you stop? And so I would say change up how things look, and that's what I did. If you look at what I did in 2019 versus what we do now, we have a lot more interactive stuff. So just be creative with, because we're all so similar for us artists selling
Right.
stuff. Like just be different. If I'd started focusing on that sooner, catch 22. Like you also have to have the
Yeah.
art.
Right. Of course. Of course. But it's also, I don't know, I guess having the presentation will make them stop. Having the art that they want is what's going to make them buy.
Oh, you know what? I'm
So
going to change my answer. How about
here we go. I got to edit this out now.
no, I'm going to change it to have a wide range of prices. Is if you only have, if you're only offering something for $20, maybe that's too high for somebody. They move on. That's why we like to have a price range of things that are $5 all the way up to like these $1,500
See,
props, and that way people can buy $5, and then maybe, or maybe they're there just to look at that big $1,500 one, but then they see that $10 product, and then they oh, it's buy three get one free. Okay, let me buy a couple of and then so have a wide range of things for all wallets.
so I agree with that to a point. I think that there is a point where you get where it feels almost flea markety, in my opinion. I'm not saying you're
Hmm.
wrong because obviously you're doing well, so I don't mean it like that. So don't take it that way. And if you do,
No,
you can text me and tell me to go after myself. That's fine. Um, but no, I feel like sometimes, although it works for you because you have those bottle caps, so that's different. Like ours is strictly artwork. So I can offer smaller art, you know what I mean? So it's like I don't want to just give the smaller art because then it's like our prints, I like to think that they're worth the price that we're asking,
mm-hmm.
right? So if I have something way lower, they're going to be like, well, why am I going to pay, 30 or 40 for that when I could just get this for 5? Granted, it's smaller and it's not always the same thing because we have smaller items that are of completely different
Mm-hmm.
items, top, whatever, views. So I don't know. I struggle with that because some part, like we've talked about this, you and I, many times, and I always feel like, it's like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. And then you kind of think it through, or we've tried to incorporate it, and it doesn't necessarily translate well. And I feel like it sometimes hurts our other end sales. You know what I
So
mean?
I
So, and
do.
I'm sure there's a line that we can find. I don't know what it is just yet.
So I would say those smaller items definitely need to be different, not just lesser versions of what you do offer, because like you
Right.
said, that will subtract from your big one. But I like having smaller items that are different, because then if they buy the bigger item, then you can lay on some riz and maybe get them to do a little upsell or cross sell for those smaller things as well.
Did you say lay on some Riz?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it.
I was gonna trying to appeal to the younger crowd. I like it. All right. You're bussing. All right, got it, got it. So as we start to kind of wind down here, I'm gonna well, actually, I'm gonna ask a question. Then I actually think I have an answer for you. But what do you think's been the most annoying thing that what you've had to deal with as while you're at the booth first? Because I have two questions. What's the most annoying thing you've had to deal with being at the booth? You're working the booth, and what just annoyed the living crap out of you?
Well, I can tell you for this weekend, Wi-Fi issues. Uh,
Oh Christ, yeah, we both had the same issue. We were texting. I texted you all caps urgent. Please respond. Holy Christ, that was awful.
uh, yeah, I mean, at the
You
booth,
know,
I like
do
to,
you have that often? Hold on, do you have that often with Wi-Fi issues at shows? I know
I do,
you
and
have a hotspot and all that, but do you have it often?
I have it with Verizon, and then it seemed like the bigger shows, and I should have learned, the Wi-Fi issue we're having is at the Javits in New York right now, and we've
Hmm.
had that issue at a different Javits, in New York. Yeah, sometimes you pay for the hotspot, and it still is giving you no service, and you either risk it by taking offline transactions, and
Yeah,
or
that's
you
risky.
pay $300 for Wi-Fi, and so what's the route? What's the risk you want to take? Yeah.
So you said you have Verizon, right? Your phone is Verizon or your hotspot or both?
Hotspots are Verizon, and I think we're
What's your
we're
phone?
thinking of switching to AT&T. So I mean,
So
this is a great question for everybody. If like,
what do you
what's
have currently?
right currently we have Verizon, and I'm not in love with it. That's why I'm
Okay,
shopping
so
for others.
don't the reason I ask this, so we have a big vendor chat and a lot of them listen to this. So I feel like every single one of them have either Verizon or T-Mobile. Heck, some of them probably have Cricket Wireless for all I know. I don't know of anybody. I have AT&T. I've had them since the first iPhone came out, so that's why I've been stuck with them basically. But knock on wood, I've only had to buy Wi-Fi at one show, and it's happened both times I've done it, and that was Motor City. I didn't have to
Hmm.
buy it in New York. I didn't have to buy it at MegaCon. Like all the shows where it gets really congested, I think it's just an AT&T thing. Not saying that they're big and superior or anything like that, but maybe we just happen to be close to a tower, closer to a tower. I don't know, but I've not had to pay for anything. Well, I take that back. At Javits this weekend, we were talking, it was $7 for freaking 3 days of internet. Jeez Louise!
Hmm.
But like New York Comic Con didn't have any issues. So I just wonder if it, like I said, if it's Verizon or if it's just AT&T and T, and I got lucky, because everybody else that seems to have the issue has Verizon or T-Mobile. So I don't know.
Every time I ask you, I'm like, "Hey, our Wi-Fi's down." You say, "Oh, I'm just doing fine." It makes
Yeah,
me think I'm like, because if you're telling me you've only had an issue once, I'm
yeah,
thinking
Motor
that sounds like
City,
I should switch to AT&T, but I don't know.
Motor City, and this weekend, this is the second show I've ever had to buy. Motor City, granted, $10 a day. Javits
Oh,
Center, what was it, $100 a day? Ridiculous. Um, so what's the most annoying thing that you've had to deal with as far as managing like a business for conventions?
hmm.
And
I would
please don't
say
say issues with shipping from PEP because we know that's a
Oh no,
lie.
you guys are there in three
All
days.
right,
Love it.
all right, all right.
I guess whenever you have so many team members, they need to know where am I going this weekend? Where am I going next month? So communication. I mean, communication across all things. Inventory for three different
Right.
warehouses, including my garage. Like just communication whenever it's not just you, because I feel like it was easy breezy when it was just me, but you kind of cap out at how big you can grow. So just communication. And right now we kind of use Discord. We have dozens of channels and talk for an hour about how Discord has changed our business. So, that's the whole thing. And then also Google Sheets. I feel like you ask me a simple question, I shoot you a Google Sheets as like an answer.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we use that like all the time.
yeah, yeah. Okay. And then have you ever, because this happened to me, and I'll tell the story, but oh, actually, real quick to go back to something that annoyed you. What I said, I think I'm going to know your answer was when somebody stole your bag of money from New York last year.
Yeah, so let me tell the story because I'm like, hey
I feel
Ryan,
bad
like,
because I was there.
we have. It was the first time like we had a 20 by 20 booth, and I'm like, come on in into the back. So I'm chatting with you, and then one of my team members is like, the money's gone. We're like, what? And so I have to run from the security booth in the Javits is outside the Javits, so I had to go all the way around to the Javits, and then they pull up the video, and you and I are talking, and somebody just casually walks in, reaches, which we now have a whole different system. It's luck left in the
Yeah.
place as it should have been from the day one. But you and I are talking, somebody just grabs, I think it was like $3,000 and just walked off. And they were in
Oh.
cosplay with like a mask. So, uh, I mean, we literally saw like dozens of other of that same costume. Like, we're
Yeah.
like, was it that person? Is he back?
That's awful. And maybe he and I split it in the back. I got your
I'll go
attention.
distract him.
The old bait and switch. Yeah, I was like, I went over there. I was there for like 10 minutes, and then I was like, oh my gosh, then it happens. I'm the bad luck. I'm the mush. If anyone's seen Bronx Tale, I'm the mush. Anyway, have you had any of your workers get sick like while they're going to a show or
Yeah,
while they
and
get there?
that's one of the benefits of us now being big enough where we send two people to the majority of the show. Like we had somebody that was sick, and luckily the other person was able to take up the slack because for the most part the selling is the easy part. It's really the travel with all the stuff, and so they got there, and one person was able to handle the booth just fine while the other person was sick. So
Okay, because we just had I mentioned it on the last pod how Meg was the superhero. We have a West Coast person, and she was doing a show in San Jose. She flew in the night before, set up, and then the morning of, I'm on the East Coast, so she texted me like 7 a.m. No, 10 a.m. our time, so it was 7 a.m. in San Jose, and she's like, "Hey, I woke up in the middle of the night, puking," and she's like, "I'm sweating, like I'm sick." And I was at a show in Connecticut doing Terrificon last weekend, which was our shameless plug if you listened to our last pod. So I'm there, and I call Meg, and I'm like, "Hey, she's not gonna be able to do the show. She's sick today. Like, what do you want to do?" And I texted her, and she texted me like 20 minutes later. She's like, "I found a flight for me. It leaves later on today. I'm gonna go." And I was like, "Holy crap!" So she literally left at 7 p.m. on Friday, got to San Jose, California at 8 a.m. the next morning, went right into the show, worked it by herself. And I mean, it was all set up. So you just had to basically show and
mm-hmm.
go. And so, yeah, and she worked the show, and it wound up being successful. Thank God, even though we missed Friday. And it was cool because she didn't even really have to break down. She just showed up, worked the show, and one of her friends came, our helper's friends came and broke it down and brought it back to her. So yeah,
I mean, it's
that
honestly
worked
the
out.
dream,
But
just showing up to sell. That's my favorite part of the
I know.
convention.
So that happened to me in Motor City this past year. Our helpers live in Michigan, so they were in town, but they had to do at a wedding, I believe it was. So they went, showed up with all of their materials, right, and just set up for the show. I showed up Friday morning with my carry-on, which was so nice. Just walk right in with my carry. I carry-on was in the hotel. I just walked in with my backpack. It's all set up. And they wound up coming in on Sunday. When they came in Sunday, they broke down. They drove me to the airport. I was like a celebrity. It was great. So yeah, those are, man, few and far between. That's for dang sure.
It wasn't somebody being sick, but I mean, early last year when we were really starting to kind of multiply our team members, somebody was just, yeah, I'm not feeling it this week, and we're like, that's not how this works, and so that way that hiccup, which we managed to make it work, but
How it
somebody
works.
like literally, and so that was kind of the issue of why I'm saying grow
Not feeling
slowly.
it today.
Yeah, and so now that's why we have so much better like checks and balances for communication and locking things in. So yeah, especially
So
whenever you're half a country away and you're managing people, that's
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing.
So I guess we both fly, right? We're flying to show. You drive a lot too, or not a lot. I guess you do drive, but you do fly. Do you
Hmm.
have one thing of advice? Because I fly to all, and I mean I can piggyback on this myself. But if you had one piece of advice, what would it be to people?
Tip the people that are checking your bags well, and you might get away with not having to pay for extra luggage.
Is that you're talking about like the sky caps or when you go inside?
So if you can do it outside, you can. And hey, like think about, especially if you're bringing 3 extra 99-pound Pelican cases, if you immediately throw in a 20 and say, hey, I want to apologize in advance for this, they might, like, it's a lot of times worth. It's
Pay
not
the
a
20
guarantee.
to
It's not a
save the
guarantee.
100.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
a guarantee, but I mean, also I would say fly Southwest. At least for now, they are the best in the biz for extra free check bags, and so we fly exclusively Southwest.
I have to disagree there, but I will explain
Well,
why.
that's a whole other
So
topic. We'll have to.
yeah, yeah, it is a whole other topic. I'll just touch on it now that we do American, and once you get to their highest level of status, if you're using it for your business, it's very simple. It takes us like 2 months to get there, but for their credit card, you get 3 free 70-pound bags. And if Meg ever comes with me or anybody, how I could have up to 5 people, so each person gets that 3 free 70-pound bag. So when we go overseas, we fly American. And it's like it's the greatest thing ever. But when we're home, it's great, and 90% of that time we get upgraded to first class too, which is because I'm tall, I can't stand sitting
Or
behind
because your
those
calf
seats.
hurts.
Well, that's now because I'm old, yeah, and I broke it on the damn treadmill. But yeah, like I'm tall, so my knees are against that seat, and I just can't. It's just so uncomfortable. So anyway, but yeah, Southwest works. I'm not arguing that. Southwest good, and we flew that for years before we started doing this. So, but yeah, I would say that's a good idea doing the tipping thing because I always go SkyCap, but I always kept mine under underweight, and I made sure my carry on was. Oh, and that's if anyone has ever seen me at a show and sees my backpack, it's my jujitsu backpack, so it's like the size of my body, and that thing probably weighs 50 pounds, and so does my carry-on's probably another 70. So I definitely I use it to my advantage for sure.
I'd also
So
say invest in nicer luggage because we went through so many cheap luggages first year that we would have to keep rebuying it. Like it would have saved us money if we just bought the nicer
yeah,
luggage at the
no, that's
beginning.
a good point. That's a good point. The ones with good wheels.
Mm.
Good wheels, and try to take care of the wheels because every place you go, there's those holes on the sidewalks where you're boom, 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 boom. If you can
Mm-hmm.
try to avoid those or kind of lift it a little on those things, it's gonna save. It saves you so much time and effort because you don't want that thing breaking on your way into a convention and knowing you got to go out with a broken wheel, and it's a pain in the.
Always another thing, and I know your golf bag works for you. Ski luggage. Ski luggage is hard shell, can telescope out bigger than a golf bag. And so ski luggage has been great for our backdrops and fitting a lot more stuff, more than golf bags everywhere. So I don't know, maybe that might work for somebody if you want to look into that.
Well, we only said one piece of advice, and we keep going.
Cut that.
But all right, so do you have any parting words for everybody? Oh, tell everybody where to find you.
I mean, I'm pretty easy to find. Even though I don't post too much on social media, it's the Pixel Empire on Instagram, or if you want to follow me, it's Denton Superman. I live in Denton, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, if you're listening to this podcast, just stop by my booth, like follow that annoying mystery box sound, and say hi.
Can't
I'm
miss it.
happy to
Well, you
just talk to
probably
you.
won't be there. You probably won't be there.
I mean, I'll maybe not for the rest of this year. If you're at New York or anything in the Dallas area, I'll definitely be there. But you never know. Stop and talk to my workers. They're always friendly. They love talking to everybody.
Yeah, they're friendly. All right, perfect. Well, I will we'll end it here, and we'll I guess see everybody next time. Thanks.
Hey,
Thanks,
thanks for
Dylan.
having me.
Appreciate it.
My
All right.
pleasure.